Hi, AmyJo. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice to see you. It's a bit dark where I am, sorry.
No worries. It looks fine. And thank you for joining me on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, it's a real honor to be invited. I mean, you've had some amazing guests on this podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we've had this lined up for a while. It's great to finally get into it. You've got an album out on the 1st of November, Spangle Landia. What can you
Very
tell us
good.
about that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're very excited. Actually, it's now been postponed. It's coming out on the 7th. But it's yeah, we're very excited. It's a compilation really of a couple of older EPs and then four new songs too. And yeah, we can't wait. I can't wait to have it's just red vinyl. So I'm very excited about that.
It's good to see vinyl making a bit of a comeback as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, well, I mean, all my music is on vinyl. This is my little collection here. I don't even have a CD player anymore, or I use vinyl and Spotify. I have to admit, I do use Spotify, even though I'm a bit kind of begrudgingly paying for each month. I know I've got loads of songs on there and I never make any money out of them, but
That's the way it's gone now, isn't it?
that's life as an underground artist, yeah.
Is it really hard then to make a living out of it?
Oh, yeah, really hard. But it's a question that keeps coming up in my personal story a lot. Like, what means success and what is making a living out of it? Because I am surviving, not from the band, but from doing a lot of music things with kids, a lot of acoustic gigs on my own around bars. So, and I think that, I'm not in this for the money, obviously, because I would have given up years ago. But it's something that keeps me alive. It's something I feel like I need to do. So, every time we play a gig and we play our own songs for people, it's like, wow, this is surviving, actually.
I think that is the best way to be with stuff like that instead of chasing money and stuff, just doing it for the passion of it.
Totally. But I think with anything creative, you're right, because, as soon as you start putting money and other kind of, I can't think of the right word, but I need this, putting your needs mainly from the ego, no? Like, you kind of mess up the whole process. You have to just let it flow, and the money will come. I think. I mean, I'm not on the streets. I'm just about able to pay my rent each month. As long
So,
that's all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Arise is a single from the upcoming album, which I think is your best song.
Oh, really? Oh, you like it? Oh, I'm so glad.
So, how did you pick that as the first single? Is there a reason?
Well, actually, Jai, who because we've just signed to Strap Originals, which is owned by Peter and Jai, and Jai picked that one. Um, I think he just thinks it's really positive and it's a great message to start with. And I was really pleased that he liked that. I'm really pleased that you said it as well because it's a song that it's one of those songs. It's not exactly punk like a lot of our other ones, but it's a very, very special song for me. I think the message is really, really powerful and important, and sometimes we all need to hear it. Like get up, stop, not stop not believing in yourself, but get out there and do your thing, whatever your thing is. Because
Is
we've
there,
all got special powers. I believe that.
yeah, definitely. Is there a message you want people to take away from your music then?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, each song is a world in itself, but once in an interview, apparently I said, I don't remember saying it, but the headline was, "It's cool to be happy too." And I think our message is that it's all right to it's all right to be down and it's all right to be frustrated, but it's all right to also say, "Hey, I'm all right. I'm happy." Sometimes it's considered, not cool to be grateful or to be happy with where you are.
Yeah, I understand that.
You
Yeah,
understand what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned there, Pete, your brother from the Libertines and Baby Shambles. What was your childhood like and your early life like?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we moved around a lot every 3 years because my dad was in the army. which could be, it could be considered as quite disruptive, but we just had a great time, actually. I think because we're very close in age. So it was like we always had each other. We were always the new kids at school, but a lot of the schools were international schools. So most of the kids were on the same page as us. And we just found it exciting, like a brand new house, fighting over which bedroom you were going to get and checking out the localities. Yeah, we had a great time.
So you both musicians. Was music a big thing in your early lives?
It really was, even though my parents are not musicians. My dad is a real kind of rock and roll fanatic. He had a huge vinyl collection. And my mum is a big Motown fan. So between the two of them, they gave us a very, very rich musical education. I feel very blessed. Yeah, the Kinks, the Beatles. And my dad loves a lot of stuff like Johnny Cash too, the Pet Shop Boys, and then my mum loves Barry White, the Jacksons, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, who's one of my heroes.
Yeah, brilliant array
Yeah.
of musicians there.
Yeah, and I mean, I got into music quite late, really, but Peter was certain, I think, from about the age of 12, 13, that he was going to be a rock and roll star.
It
And
works out all right.
ever since he started playing the guitar, he never put it down.
Really?
Yeah, incredible. From about the age of 15, 16, I think he was.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he says in his autobiography that you two were best friends growing up. What would you get up to together?
Oh God, all kinds of things. And it's quite funny because I was always more worried about what the parents would say or the adults, and he was more worried about getting hurt. So we used to have this little like in our gang that I would quite often go over into the garden of whoever what it was and do the dare or go and get the football. And the deal was that I'd go and do it, but he'd have to deal with mum or any other German neighbor that came out shouting at us. And it worked quite well. We were a good team. We never got caught.
You mentioned you got into music a bit later, but you kind of helped start the Libertines. Can you tell us that story, please?
Don't blame me. Yeah, well, because Carl was one of my very best friends at university. Um, it was just it was one of those things that Peter always says we both kind of fell in love with him, and totally in a platonic way, because with me and Carl it was a pure friendship, but very, very deep. We kind of just understood each other. And I was always a bit shy when it came to singing, but we used to sit in his room and drink whiskey all night, and he'd play guitar and I'd sing. And it was only ever really with Carl and my brother that I felt comfortable singing in them days when I was about 18, which is funny. um, and then when they met, it was not love at first sight. They really rubbed each other the wrong way, actually. I think Peter was a bit jealous because I came back from holidays. I was Carl this, Carl that. And he's like, who's this Carl? And when they both met, yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare at first. But they fell in love too, and obviously started an amazing journey together. They both left university, which I was sad about because we had a year left. And when Carl left, I lost my best friend really. But yeah, they went off on this musical journey together, and wow, it's been incredible.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. So when did you start playing music yourself then?
Well, like I said, I always played. I think when I left, in fact, it was actually Peter's guitar. I think the Libertines were playing a party one night, and I was about to go and live in South Korea. And I remember Peter flung a guitar out of I think it was out of the party that we were at because it was broken and it wasn't working. So he threw it across the road. I ran over and picked it up. It was a bit battered, but I took it with me to South Korea. And when I was over there, I already knew a few chords, but I became very good friends with this guy, and he taught me how to play a few chords. So the poems that I used to write, I just started putting them to a few chords. In fact, I've still got my first book that I used to spend hours in the I don't know if you remember the internet cafes. I'm talking about 1999. And I would print out all songs that you could play with three chords, all my songs that I love. So there was loads of Bob Dylan, loads of Beatles, and I would just play these couple of Carpenters songs, play them on repeat. But this guitar was so old that it used to go out of tune every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I left it in South Korea. I swapped it for something with somebody. It's still over there, hopefully, in Suncheon City. But yeah, gradually I just started writing a few songs, but would never have played them live until I came to Madrid probably about 15 years ago now. Yeah,
Well,
late 80s.
is it true you left to go to Madrid to escape the British press at the time?
I think the British press have said that. I think they like to think to that. I mean, I was getting a bit hounded, like we all were, but I really just love traveling, and my plan was to live in Mexico, so I came here for a 6 month job to improve my Spanish. I've been here 20 years now. But I mean, they say that I've seen that said in interviews, and I think, did I say that? Did somebody make that up? It could have been, you know, but Peter was more known here for the gossip, and so people were still interested, but obviously they didn't really know until a few years later. It could have been that, but now I don't really think that's true.
Was it a bad time though with the press? Was it
Oh, it was
relatable?
horrendous. Yeah, awful. Yeah, they're just, it's great that actually, in a way, that a lot of this stuff came out with those cases, when they were tapping people's phones, because, well, thankfully, the News of the World got shut down, and people are a bit more aware of, the lengths that some of these people go to. I mean, they played horrible tricks on my grandmother that was living in London as well at the time, phoning her up, pretending to be his manager, and, oh, can you give me Peter's number? And I mean, poor Peter doesn't even have a phone anymore. It's just easier for him not to, you know.
Yeah. You can't imagine like it's horrible really. And you must be like paranoid all the time.
Yeah, yeah, it does make you. It's weird because I started to understand when people were talking to me. I could see a look in someone's eyes. It's really hard to describe, but I knew that they were talking to me because they thought, or someone had said I was Peter's sister. It's like a total. People get glazed over this whole stardom thing. And like I had a journalist turn up at my door one day when I was living in Brixton. I don't know where he was from. It might have been the Mirror, scumbags. Um, and I said, "How the hell did you get my address?" And he just really smarmy fellow. He said, "Oh, he said we've got our ways." I don't know how they, just you just think, is there not anything better that you can do in your life than because most of it's gossip. I think we're all mostly aware that half the stuff you read isn't just not true. Or very twisted. So it's like, really? The sad thing is that people still buy all these shitty newspapers, but otherwise they wouldn't be trying to do this. It's obviously sellable material, but
Yeah,
yeah.
like you say, he hasn't got a phone now, which isn't a surprise, but it's good to see he got out of that, came out the other end.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the funny thing and the most beautiful thing about Peter is that he really did not care. I mean, he used to say to me, because I got offered money from so many different magazines to sell my story, and I always said no to the money. And now I regret it. But but he always used to say to me, "Oh, take the money, tell him what you like, tell him that you gave me my first, you shot me up first." And I'm like, no, like I said earlier, I'm the one with more of a conscience. It's like, our nan reads these papers, our mum and dad. And he always used to say to my mum, "Mum, please don't believe what you read." And, he was never bothered really. It
He
doesn't
did
bother me
say
because,
that
eh?
he did say that your father, when you were growing up, wouldn't believe anything in the papers, but then once Pete was in the papers, he started to believe it.
It's so true. Yeah, I never thought of it like that. It's different when it's your own son, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
But it's so true. That's so true. Yeah.
So you mentioned you moved to Madrid. Like you said, growing up, you travelled all over, living in different places. Does that help you creatively, going to all these places?
I think it probably does. Yeah, without realizing, because I think the way I am as an artist is I'm definitely influenced and what's the other word? Oh goodness, my English is really not working today. Inspired by life itself. So, everything I take from songs is things that have happened or that I've heard or that, and that obviously the wider your garden is, the more ideas you get. Yeah. I'm amazed that I've been here for 20 years. I've been in this little house that I'm in now for 8 years. I've never lived anywhere that long in my life.
What's it like then, Madrid as a city?
Oh,
Um,
it's fantastic. It's such a great city. I mean, it's changing a lot. There was a massive demonstration yesterday. 150,000 people turned out because it sadly it's becoming a bit of a playground for tourists. So all the rents are going up. I live in a ground floor flat right in the center, and I'm the only one pretty much in my street now that is a resident that lives here. They're all Airbnbs and tourist apartments. I think it's happening in a lot of major cities, but in Madrid, it's really, I've even got tuk-tuks coming up my street. You just think, what the hell is going on? You know,
what is it like for music?
it's great. I mean, everyone complains here, and they have this idea that in the UK, it's like the magical fantasy island for musicians, and you know, but I think musicians are struggling everywhere at this underground level. There's a lot of cool places being closed down because of trouble with neighbors, but there's a great scene. There's a great underground scene. There's a lot of bars that illegally have a lot of live music. Here it's all about licenses, and I think it is in everywhere now as well. But there's a lot of people that carry on regardless, and yeah, it's great.
You mentioned you got more into music when you moved to Madrid. So how did the Spangles come about?
Well, it's really funny because I started this I was a teacher and I wanted to carry on working with kids, but doing something different. And I met this mum and she said there's no music groups, which there's a lot in Spain. And she said, "You play guitar, don't you?" And I was like, "Ooh, but only in my house." So we started getting together and at the same time, oh, because I met her through her husband, who was a teacher in another school with one of my best friends. And he was a musician. He had a band called the Mardoos in London. He's a Scottish guy, Ross Stewart. And I don't know how it happened, but we met one night and then we just decided to have a jam. And it was a lot of bottles of wine later. And I said, "Oh, well, I've got some songs." And I played him some of my songs and he really liked them. And we started a duo. We started doing a couple of open mics. Um, and then he's got the most amazing voice and just really great ideas. And we formed a little duo called the Ezra Beats. That was my first band. And at the same time, he just had a baby, and his wife was looking for this music group to start it. So I started it with her. So I always say that this couple kind of changed and saved my life, really. Um, and then they left to London. They had another child, and they stayed in. We did a lot with the Ezra Beats. We played some festivals, and we played the radio. And he left, and I was just getting started. Like, oh no, I can't stop now. So I started playing out on my own, which I was always so nervous, and I didn't really enjoy it. I used to do a show where I'd play bingo. No one understood it at all. I'd do a few songs and then I'd call out some bingo numbers. And the Spanish, they just didn't get it at all. I remember one gig I did, and there was a guy who'd come in off the street. He was totally battered. And this 5-year-old, and they were both really into it. And everyone else was a bit like, what the hell is going on? And somebody said to me, you should be taking yourself a bit more seriously. And I'm a drummer. So I started with this drummer. He was a percussionist, and we met a keyboard player. I mean, this was many years ago now. None of them are still in the band, but the Spangles kind of grew out of that, really.
I've heard your live shows are very like good vibes and very energetic. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, well, I think that incorporates the message. It's like just to have fun, not saying that we shouldn't take life seriously because, we should take it very seriously. But I think having fun should be taken very seriously too. I think this comes from working with kids. Like, play is kids' work. So the idea for me to have a show is that we're all part of it together. So I used to hand out shakers and instruments, which I don't do in the bigger shows now, but I do. I love chucking stuff out at the crowd. I love rubbing glitter on everybody. I draw hearts on people's hands before the show. I try to walk around. It's just a way for me to like touch people's hands and like get us all ready. It stops me getting nervous as well. And the idea is that we all come together for that hour and a half, and have a party basically.
Yeah, exactly like a gig, going to a gig for an hour and a half. Like you don't think about your other worries and stresses and stuff.
No, I think we all know that as music lovers that music is so powerful as a therapeutic tool. Even if there's a song that really touches you and you can have a good cry, you know, it's so powerful on so many levels. You know, they use it now for treating all kinds of things. I've heard that they even put it on in operating theaters for the surgeons themselves to, you know, certain songs. They say especially classical music. I mean, if they're not listening to the Prodigy while they're doing a transplant or something. But
So, what are your musical influences then? Because the Spangles, like you say, it's like punk, pop. There's loads of different genres. What do you
yeah.
what do you listen to the most?
Oh, well, I've got now with Spotify, you know, it's always throwing. I've just had Jimmy Cliff on. You know, you can get it if you really want. I
Yeah,
absolutely love that track. And I don't know, I just thought, oh, I need to hear that. But here behind me, I've got my record collection is a lot of Bowie, a lot of Beatles, Johnny Cash. I love old rock and roll as well.
yeah, yeah.
I love Blondie, the Small Faces, the Kinks. I'm a bit old in that respect. There's not a lot of new stuff that, although I just discovered Yard Act. I saw them at a festival in August, and the lottery winners I saw at a festival.
Yeah, the lottery winners are very good. I think they'll make it big.
They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
The live shows are good. They interact with the audience. It's like you say, that's a good energy. Like with them.
Yeah, he's just brilliant. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, they all are, but yeah, I totally fell in love. It was just a Shed 7 festival in York, and my brother was playing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, recently. Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah, because our parents live in York now and our sister.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was invited to play with Shed 7, who were one of my favorite bands when we were growing up.
Yeah,
And
good
the
look, man.
lottery winners were playing too. I just absolutely couldn't believe it. And I said to Peter, "Oh my God, you got to hear this band." And when we went back the next day, I thought they were going to be on again, and they weren't.
Oh yeah, we're a mix, different mix, wasn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think he's met them anyway somewhere. But yeah,
But
really good. And Yard Act as well, are absolutely amazing. Live as well. Their show is fantastic.
was they all at the same place then, or is this somewhere else?
No, they played in it was a festival called Calorama in Madrid
All right.
in
Yeah.
at the end of August. Oh, it was such a great lineup. The Prodigy played, Massive Attack, LCD Sound System, who were one of
Yeah.
my great heroes. Yeah. And I wasn't even going to go. They were on quite early, Yard Act. And I checked them out on Spotify. I thought, oh, hello. I loved it. And then when I saw them live, oh my goodness.
What? So what do you? So obviously you got the Spangles nowadays. Are you still teaching and stuff like that, or is that
No, no. I mean, I've
no?
got a couple of English conversation classes, which I don't really like doing anymore. But you know, it's very handy money, and it's to helping a few people out. But my main thing is like I do a group of music for parents and babies called Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going into a school tomorrow. I've got a weekly class. Um, and then I've got another writing songs for kids. If I don't know if you've got kids, but we've got a channel called Shaky Doodle Time on YouTube, and we've got fun songs for kids and teachers. I mean, we're not making any money off that yet, but you know, we have also written for editorials and it's all related to music. But no, I retired from teaching when I was 29.
Is there anything you set out to achieve with the Spangles?
Um, It's a good question, isn't it? Because then you start thinking, oh, what's and now in this world of social media, it's very, very easy to get drawn into that trap of, you know, followers and likes and plays on Spotify. And you know, you get pretty depressed by it because you know it's really hard. The thing that I just want to do is reach as many ears and hearts as possible. Play live, you know. I mean, I'd love to have you know, a big sellout on this album and get into loads of festivals next year. But I'd love to just play. I'd love to go to Mexico and play there. And yeah, spread the message. I mean, that sounds a bit airy fairy and a bit hippie, but you know, if I said, right, I want to have a gold selling record, then maybe I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But I want to keep enjoying it and hopefully reach new people. We would really want to come to the UK.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, yeah.
I'll let you know if we play up there. You'll have to come over and see us.
Yeah, definitely it'd be great to check you out live.
Mm.
So, just all the band as well. you brought your debut album out in 2018. Is there a
Yeah.
difference between the two albums? Have you gone down a different musical route, or
Yeah, in some ways, I think because well, the band has changed. They're all different musicians now.
yeah,
Um, but I think the energy is still there. There's some newer songs in this new album um, that are perhaps a little bit more, I don't know the right word. I don't want to say mature because it sounds a bit dull, but I think we've all grown up a bit. I have certainly. Um, and so I think, yeah, there's some slower songs. There's one called The Highwayman's Waltz. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I find it hard to define what we do. I think we're still along the same lines, but yeah, with a bit more life experience, perhaps.
we've mentioned it's different genres. So when you write a song, you just like take you down that route of where it's gonna go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it's dangerous to try and fit into something. Well, in my head, anyway, I think once you start putting tickets and labels on things, it, or if you're defined by a sound, then you kind of have to stick to it. Because, and I have been criticized for that. People have said I'm very difficult to. I was talking to someone about this yesterday after the rehearsal. Like, when you apply for a festival or to go on a show and you have to put genre of the band. Like, oh no. Well, if they play this song, they might call us post-punk. But if they put this one, they might say it's a bit more, poppy punk, or some are quite heavy, sounding a bit more rock. And I hate having to define yourself. I always say to people, come to a gig and then you tell me.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of doing it. Because
Yeah.
like if you got a gig coming up on the 19th of October,
Yeah. Oh, you have done your homework. Yeah, this Saturday. We're very excited. Yeah. In
where,
Madrid it is.
is it Madrid? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the venue like? What's it going to be like, the gig?
It's one of those tiny little places that like what I call a place where I love to do gigs, like a dirty little dive. I mean, I shouldn't say dirty little dive. It's not a dirty little dive. But it's dark, it's small. The stage is a little bit too small because I like to jump around. And last time I cracked my head on the ceiling when I was in the windowsill bit. After I might wear a crash helmet this time. But it's only around the corner from me. Um, and so we're hoping we're going to get loads of people. There are some gigs, some gig places, salas they're called in Spanish, on the outskirts, and people are so lazy, especially at our age now. And if we're not in walking distance, oh, it's a bit far, If they have to get the metro or a taxi home, they don't want to come. So I want everyone there this time because it's walking distance for most of us.
Just back to Madrid and stuff. We mentioned that moving about did help you creatively. I've noticed you read a lot of books as well. Does that help with your creativity as well?
Yeah. Oh, I would say so, definitely. But also it's a nice escape. I love reading a good book. And there's loads of secondhand books around, secondhand bookshops. So I just tend to buy my books there. Or when I go back to the UK, like as you know, York has got loads of amazing uh secondhand bookshops, charity shops, and I always stock up. But every now and again I hear of a great book, like one that we were talking about, How to Do the Work, Nicole Lepera. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I found this actually in a car boot sale when I was back. Do you know
I've
about the?
heard of him. I've heard of him. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's brilliant, and the book's really good. But if you've ever heard about the Wim Hof method of breathing, it's also life changing. It's a great way to calm your mind, release endorphins and chemicals. Breathing is very powerful. It's something we take for granted, and it's the first thing we do and the last thing we do.
Yeah, exactly. So with the band and everything, what have you got lined up for the future?
Well, we obviously the record's coming out. So we're working with some people in the UK as well, trying to sort us out a little UK tour. Um, we're hoping to be in Germany in February. And then we've got a few different gigs lined up over the months in Madrid and different places around Spain. But I think the idea is just to get it out there, let everyone hear it. and get the gigs coming in. For us, especially, I don't want to say it's an age thing, but I think, my generation, we didn't grow up with mobile phones, and we're not big. I mean, our drummer doesn't even have social media, which is a pain in the ass, to be honest. But it's all about that, isn't it? It's all about making noise and content. But really, for us, it's about playing live and playing our songs. We've done the hard work. We've written them. We've recorded them, and now we want to play them.
Do you enjoy the recording or the live shows more?
Oh, the live shows, yeah.
Yeah.
Recording's really boring.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the singer. So I'm a bit like, when's it my turn? You know, but you have to be there, and then none of them really want to come when I'm singing. So I'm quite often just there on my own.
What are you like? You mentioned there it's different times now with social media. What are you like with that side of things with the band and stuff? Is it hard to keep on top of, or
I'm just getting my head around the fact that you need to be doing it, and like spotting. I just didn't care about any of that. I think I'm a very romantic person, and I'm like, no, I believe in, the real world and the energy flows. But I think you've got to be in it, or you're out of the game, really, because I've just opened a TikTok account as well.
yeah?
You do,
I've got
you
that
do. Have you? Are you on it?
for this podcast. I wouldn't have got it any other
Is there a
time.
behind the curtain dance? Do one.
It's crazy, and it's all the stuff on there like trends.
Oh, it's just, it's mind blowing. But what I'm doing now is trying to set myself a time limit. But I reckon I'm doing a couple of hours a day, for the band, for the kids stuff, uh, trying to contact with people. And Threads is a great thing that I've just discovered as well.
Oh, I've not used that. Is that good? Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, for connecting with people. I mean, there's a lot of people, as always, trying to sell you stuff, but
Yeah.
for people that are genuinely just looking to discover new podcasts, new music,
Yeah,
really,
I'll
really
check it out. Yeah.
interesting. Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been brilliant
Oh,
to speak to you, and I
yeah.
really look forward to hearing the album. Did you say the 7th of November?
It's the 7th now. Yeah.
And where can people listen to it? Is it Spotify? And
It's going to be on all the digital platforms. Yeah. And I think if you go to there is a link, but if you go to the Strap Originals website, then you can pre-order your vinyl or your CD on there.
well,
Yeah. No.
I'll put the link in the description in the YouTube video if anybody wants to check out the album and pre-order and buy it.
Oh, nice one. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you, and thank you again for joining me. It's been great to speak to you.
Oh, it's been lovely to talk to you. Take good care. I hope you get over your cold very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.